Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about how you can set up an online portfolio. So in this video, what I want to do is talk to you about a few different tools that you can use to set up an online portfolio. These may not be familiar to you if you're in academia or instructional design specifically, but this is a good opportunity to wade into the use of those tools to see how they work, but also with a very directed purpose here. I want you to be able to set up an online portfolio that is powerful, flexible, easy to update, and free. So what we're going to do is take a look at GitHub, GitHub Pages, and RStudio with Quarto. And it sounds like a mouthful, but it's a really useful set of tools for setting this up, and it's free. So the first thing I want to take a look at here is the desktop that I have. And on the left, we have a browser that I currently have set up to show part of my own portfolio here. And then we have a command prompt. I'm on a Windows machine, and so this is the terminal or command prompt for Windows. And then I have a folder called My Portfolio Files, which is just set up for demo purposes. Yours would be something different. So first of all, an online portfolio is actually a really great way for you to demonstrate your skill set. You can talk about projects that you've done. You can keep a record of any kind of awards or even your education, any certifications you've earned. You can really use that as an opportunity to show off what you know how to do and what you've done in the past. And it makes for an easy medium because recruiters or colleagues or partners at different institutions can all look and see your work, and you don't have to try to find it and dig it up and send it to the right people. You can easily just send them a link to your portfolio or a specific part of your portfolio to show them what it is you want them to see. You can also use this as a platform to link to social media, any kind of professional media that you have, and you can also use it to store your resume and other important information about yourself. So with that said, the first step in this process will be to install Git and get an account for GitHub. And so for a moment, I want to talk to you about what that means. So GitHub is used for a lot of different purposes, but primarily it's intended for version control of software and the ability for different contributors to share their work and collaborate on a project. So imagine you have a team of programmers that all need to edit the same file, but you don't want to step on each other's toes or get in the way or overwrite something important. So it's a platform that allows you to store that information online, but also it allows you to work together collaboratively. What we're looking at here is a slightly different use. You will be storing software on GitHub, but you're not necessarily collaborating with anyone, so you don't really need to think about that part too much. But the idea is that you will put code, you'll put software, you'll put files on GitHub, and then you can edit that and keep it maintained relatively easily. Another tool that you'll be using here is Git, which is related to GitHub, and it is a tool for updating the repository that you're setting up. So think of it kind of like your own personal folder, and you need to take new information and put it into that folder on GitHub. Well, Git is a tool that allows you to do that really easily from your computer. So I'll show you that. And then finally, GitHub Pages is simply the free website that you get when you have a GitHub account. And you get one, and in this case, I'm recommending that you use it for a portfolio, and I'll show you that. So first things first, I want you to go install Git. And if you have a Mac or a Linux machine, this will be a little different, but I'm using a Windows machine, so git4windows.org has everything you need. You can just download and then click next until you're done. You can use all the default settings, and this will install the Git tool that you can use from the command line interface, which I have over here. The next thing you'll need to do is set up a GitHub account. You can see here's my super handsome image here in my own repo or in my own account. But what you'll need to do is set up your own GitHub account, and you'll have a username that you choose, and you'll be using that as part of your address for your GitHub Pages page. So once you have your GitHub account and your username selected as part of that setup, what you'll need to do is set up a repository in your GitHub account. So to do that, you can go to this link that says repositories, and these are also called repos, so I'll start to refer to it in that way. What you can do is click on the new button here, and you'll come to this webpage where it says create a new repo, and then there's some options and things here. The important thing though is that you leave this as a public repo. This is going to be your website, and you want people to visit that, so it needs to be public. And for the repo name, you can choose, if you're doing this for any other reason, you can choose any name you want, but for the GitHub Pages, it has to be a specific type of name. And so if you go to the GitHub Pages website, they walk you through what I'm talking about here. So once you have your GitHub set up, you need to do this address or GitHub name or repo name, sorry, called username.github.io, where you replace your username with your actual username. Now, I already have one set up, which is what I'm using for my portfolio, but you will need to set that up with whatever your username is. So you can do that. What I'm going to do here, just for demonstration purposes, is I'm going to call this one Git Demo. You can add a description, you can add a README file, you can even choose a license if you wanted to, but those are all optional things. The important thing here for your portfolio is that you name it correctly according to the instructions on GitHub Pages. So again, what I'm calling it here is not what you would call it, but I'm going to create this repo just to set things up. And currently there is nothing in here. This is just what it looks like when there's nothing in it. And that's the way we're going to leave it for a moment. So what we can do now is look at our command line. Now, I already installed Git. If you wanted to check and make sure that you have it installed, you can type Git version, and you should get something that tells you whatever version it is. Mine is 2.42. And once you have that set up, then you can start to use it and interact with that repo that you set up. So the first thing though that I want to do is clone or copy that repo into my local machine. So in this other window that I have set up called My Portfolio Files, I want to make a copy of that repo that I set up. And this will establish a place on my local machine that I can play with the website, change it, make easy additions. And then when those are done and I'm happy with it, I can push all of those changes to GitHub, and that will make those changes permanent in that, in that repo, and then your website will update whenever people visit that. So you can do all the changes locally on your machine, play with it until you're happy, and then push it to your repo. So that's how that works. So what we're going to do here, let's see, just to recap, we've already installed Git. We have a GitHub account with the username. You signed into it and set up a public repo with your username.github.io. And then we have a terminal open here. And the next thing we need to do is navigate to the folder where we want to put our local files. So if you're on Windows, you can just click the name, and then in your terminal, I'm going to use the command cd, which is change directory. And then I'll just paste in the name of the folder path. So hit enter, and now we are inside of this folder. And if you use the command dir just to look at the directory, it pulls up the content of that folder, and there's nothing currently in it. You can see here 0 files, 0 bytes. So there's nothing in this folder, which we knew because it's empty. but that's a good way to check. So once we are in this folder where we want to put the eventual website folder, now we need to do a git command. This one is git clone, and then we are going to have the address of the repo that we just created. So here, this is github.com/username, whatever your username is. And in your case, it would not be git demo, it would be your repo address for your website. So it would be your username.github.io. But again, this is for demonstration purposes. So I'm cloning my repo into my folder. And then we can just sort of refresh this. And then we can see that git demo has appeared in here. Now, there's nothing in that. If you click into the folder, you'll see that it's empty. And if you wanted to, in the command line, you can switch into that. And then you could see that that's empty as well. Now, once you have navigated into that cloned directory, so again, if this was your actual clone directory, it would be, for example, asantone.github.io. You would move into there. Here it's just git demo, but once you move into there, you're going to run another command, and this is just to set up the very, very simplest website. So we're going to use this command echo and then some text. It's just hello world. You could type whatever text you want. And then you have this symbol used kind of like an arrow, and then index.html. So this will create an index.html file that contains the words hello world, and it will put it in the directory. So we do that, and then that will appear in the directory. Now, if you want to, you can look at this and it will appear as a very simple website. Or it's really just one page that has text on it. So there's not really much there. But the next thing you want to do once you have your page is to prepare it and then push it to the repo. So this next set of instructions is what prepares your files to be moved from your local machine up to GitHub. And so the command is git add all. So git and then add and then 2 dashes and then all. And then the next one is commit. So we have git commit -m and then comment initial commit. And we do that. And you'll see that it says one file changed, one insertion, and it has some create notes here. And then the other command following that is git push -u origin main. So I didn't talk about it, but when you have a repo, you can have different branches, so different people can work on different parts of the project at the same time, and they can all be merged into the main branch. So here you're just pushing everything to your normal main branch. And if you haven't signed in, this will ask you to sign in at this point. But since I've already done that, it didn't ask me for it. Now, this says that it was doing some work here, enumerating objects, counting objects, writing objects, did some changes. It says where it went. And then if we go over to the Git demo page that I set up, this is the repo, but I'm looking at it through the actual GitHub web interface. We can go there, refresh that, and see that the files have changed. And the index that we just made, the index.html file, now appears in that repo. So if this were your website, your username.github.io repo, you would now have a web page in it, and it would be working. You may need to wait a few minutes for everything to sync up and sort of settle, but once that happens, you can go visit your web page. So for me, that is asantone.github.io, and then you could go to index.html, and that would pull up the front page of your site. So mine looks a lot different because I built it out already, but if you were to look at yours, it would just say hello world. So very simple. I opened this up from the files, but this is what it would look like as your actual address if you go there. So that is how you can use GitHub, and some command line tools on your computer to get everything set up and ready to go. Now, the next part is where I will talk about how to make your actual portfolio. And for that, we will be using the RStudio IDE, which is a place where you can do programming and code stuff. And then we will also be using the Quarto system, which is something I've used before, but it's actually what I use to make my own portfolio. So I'll be talking about how you can build that out. And in that video, you'll learn a little bit about Markdown and Quarto syntax. And hopefully you'll come up with a really cool idea for your portfolio and be able to show off to the world what it is that you know and know how to do. So thank you for watching. If you like this video, please hit subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Liking it helps the channel out, and I appreciate it. So thank you and have a great week. Take care.